Formed in 1987 in Seattle, Washington, Alice in Chains' original lineup would consist of frontman Layne Staley, guitarist Jerry Cantrell, bassist Mike Starr, and drummer Sean Kinney. While a lot of bands sang about partying or chicks, Alice in Chains didn't. They would tackle a more dark subject matter despite their goofy offstage persona. Bassist Mike Starr would tell the Lansing Journal, "We write about something to get it off our chest. We take out our aggressions on our music so we don't have to be negative in person." Immediately following Alice in Chains' debut album Facelift coming out in late August of 1990, the band would do a few warm-up shows in Seattle. Soundgarden had just finished their Louder Than Love tour, and Alice in Chains shared a manager in Susan Silver, who was also married to Chris Cornell. So she would end up hiring Soundgarden's crew to work for Alice in Chains on their first major tour. The band would have a total of 6 people working for them, 3 techs, a merch seller, a sound engineer, as well as tour manager. They would also get Soundgarden's tour bus. The tour to support Facelift saw Alice open for a variety of acts, including Van Halen, Poison, Slayer, Megadeth, Anthrax, and today's topic, Extreme. Let's just say Alice in Chains weren't exactly fans of touring with Extreme, and this is before they blew up with More Than Words. Following those warm-up shows in Seattle, Alice opened for Extreme, doing a month-long tour with them. Extreme were supporting their record Extreme 2 Pornograffiti at the time. They were playing at venues that ranged from 500 to 1,500 people, and Extreme's crew, with the exception of a few people, had no real road experience. It seemed like to the guys in Alice in Chains that the guys from Extreme just simply hired their buddies, and they also had no humor on tour or camaraderie with the guys from Alice in Chains. It was at Extreme's homecoming show in Boston, the band's production manager arrogantly said to a member of Alice in Chains' touring crew, "Wow, you ever been in a room this big?" To which the crew member responded, "Wow, is this as big as a stadium?" The production manager basically told him to f*** off and walked away. Guitarist Jerry Cantrell would reveal to author Greg Prado, "Starting out with a really lame tour for us, opening for Extreme for 30 days. Jesus Christ, a couple of the guys were cool, but there were other guys who had egos. At the end of that 30 days, we had enough. We'd been playing to empty rooms. They didn't have their More Than Words hit yet. We got an attitude about what we could do, what we couldn't do on stage." He'd go on to reveal that Alice in Chains' members were not allowed to smoke or drink on stage because Extreme frontman Gary Cherone liked to perform barefoot. One of Alice's road crew people would tell author David DeSola in the book Alice in Chains, The Untold Story, that Extreme fans were, and I quote, "generally little seedy guitar player wannabe dudes. I think they were starting to hit with that More Than Words god-awful ballad. They took that one to the bank." Another crew member of Alice would add, "They were really cheesy guys. Their music was exactly like they were." It was according to the same crew guys, the members of Extreme had this old school rock mentality, meaning that they liked to screw over their opening act. They would turn down their PA, they didn't give them adequate lighting or sound checks. It was at one gig in Atlanta. The stage was so small that Extreme's drum riser took up the whole center, so Layne had to sing to the side of the stage for the entire performance. According to Alice in Chains' crew, because of that horrible experience with Extreme, they never treated their opening acts the same way. It was at the last gig the members of Alice had enough of Extreme and the rules and drank on stage. They spilled their drinks on purpose and even smoked. The band had the attitude that since it was the last gig of the tour, they really couldn't get fired. Bassist Mike Starr would, according to Jerry, get nervous on stage and had a few beers in him and ended up puking on the drum kit. There was also an incident earlier in the tour when Starr was so drunk that he jumped on Extreme's bass cabinets, knocking them over, angering the road crew from Extreme. Alice would follow that tour, opening for Iggy Pop, playing theaters, which would be a much more enjoyable experience. That does it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching. As always, if you have suggestions for future topics, let me know in the comment section below, and be sure to hit the like and subscribe button on Rock and Roll True Stories too. Take care.